Welcome to another edition of 4th and 1. I'm Todd Palmer, joined as always by Mr. Nick Jacobs. Nick, say hi.
Hello, Todd.
How are you feeling today? You get rid of that cough yet?
I'm doing some proper preparation. You know, just I'm day by day on that right now.
Your day to day.
I'm day to day on that.
All right. Well, we'll get an update from Rick Burkholder later in the podcast on Nick's availability for Saturday. But got another special guest here in the studio today. Some of you guys may have heard of him. Used to write for the Kansas City Star. Now he writes for a little website called Yahoo. Is it Therese?
Or is it Perez?
No, I would never do that to you.
You wouldn't do that to me?
Wouldn't have. I have never done that to you, and I never will do that to you.
Yeah, well, it's Therese Paler, nickname TP1.
TP2, I
no,
think.
TP1.
I don't know. We're going to need Tommy Ibarra to render a judgment
Yeah,
here.
I think Tom knows what the deal is.
All right. Well, we're not going to ask my wife because I know who she'll say. I know who she'll vote for TP1. Same with my kids. So, Therese, thank you so much for joining us. I mean, how you feeling, man? It's playoff week. I know juice is a big thing. How much juice do you get when it comes to playoff time, or are you just like ready for this to be done?
A lot of juice. I love playoff football. I love that genuinely too. So the opportunity to come on here and talk football with two of my favorite people in the world, especially in Kansas City, is a blast. You know, you guys have done great work this year. I learn every time I listen, right? And I think I know a little bit about football. So it's an honor to join this thing, and I had a great time. I'm looking forward to another great podcast with you guys.
All right, well, hey, it's
I
an honor
think
to have
Therese
you, man.
learns how angry and bitter I am come playoff time.
No, he does. He
It
does.
has Nick's bitterness. It's just resignation. It's like it's just a complete resignation sometimes about the defense. It just it would be really, really funny if it wasn't, you know, a little depressing. But it's still kind of funny.
So, hey, is that a?
As a Lions fan, I can relate.
Well, we could always get to the Lions. You see, they're looking at offensive coordinator.
Who?
Steve Sarkisian and Nate Hackett near the top.
It's funny. One of my friends from Detroit I stay in contact with. We watch the Lions, obviously, and we saw the great Dave Burkett, the Lions beat writer for the Free Press, came out with like this preliminary list of 10 guys. And I knew from Dave's work, like if he had a list of 10, like the guy was going to be on that list, right?
Yeah.
And I'm looking at this list. I'm like, ooh. This, like, aside from like Adam Gase and Shane Waldron, I was like, yo, this list sucks. like this list is awful. And actually the two names I really didn't want to see were these two, Sarkisian and Nate Hackett, especially Hackett. And I was just like, yo, we're really going to go Matthew Stafford's entire career without him having like a plus offensive mind guiding him. Like, that's ridiculous.
Hey, and then on the Chiefs end,
by the way, his other offensive coordinators during his career were Jim Bob Cooter and the great
Chiefs fans are familiar.
the great Joe Lombardi, might have to cut some of this, but it's Dallas's offensive coordinator Scott Linehan, who got a lot of criticism before they ended up with their new triplets. So, not real good in the Motor City.
Well, you can't have Eric Bieniemy, right?
That's right. You can't take him from me. He's mine.
Y'all might not have a choice on that.
Yeah, well,
There's only 2 openings left. It's the time we're recording this.
But it scares me that the Bengals haven't announced who they're going with.
Yeah, and especially since Pro Football Talk put out that they started letting go of their assistants today, and there's still no announcement. So that means that until I see Hugh Jackson is not on that list.
Yeah.
So anyway, speaking of depressing thoughts, I know because I know Nick is terrified of losing Eric Bieniemy.
I've got to go somewhere right now. I'll be back later.
That's
You know,
right.
you are right, though. There's still 2 jobs open. Nothing's been announced yet. Who knows? The thing is that Mike Brown's a complete wild card, okay? Like, that search is really, really quiet. And the decision is his. No one really knows what's going to happen, so we'll see.
Yeah. Well, I know what's going to happen if the decision is Eric Bieniemy, and it involves like angry crying from Nick Jacobs over here. So if that happens, hopefully it happens when we're working a shift together, and keep an eye out on Twitter because I will definitely get that on social media.
I'll drown my sorrows with Wendy's fast food.
There you go.
Nick, what do you want from the menu? Everything.
Give me the Big Bacon Classic.
All right, but not
the
to
Frosty. Let's go.
It's gonna be like 12 things, sir.
All right.
Your total's $50. That's fine. I don't even care anymore.
And Nick's going to be very polite when he does it, too. It's like, welcome to Wendy's, may I have your order? And Nick would be like, yes. I would like 2 Big Bacon Classics, please. I would like 3 Frosties, and just go right down the line, dude.
And just one of everything else.
It's just, it's funny because Therese has heard me whenever I've gone through the drive-through menu before. Whenever I've been talking to him, I know he's told me I'm like the politest person in general to him.
Oh yeah.
But I remind him they're handling my food. So
Yeah.
of course I'm going to be respectful
Yeah.
to them.
No,
Yeah.
that's a good call.
I don't want my spicy chicken to taste like Windex or anything.
Or worse.
So yeah, because it doesn't go down well with the side of Chiefs playoff history.
Ooh, nice transition.
Yeah, did you like that segue?
That's pretty good. Wow.
So I was going to say, not to bring the mood down, but obviously the Chiefs have a game in Arrowhead, and I don't know if you guys are aware how that's gone historically for the Chiefs in the playoffs, but it has not gone well. Not gone well at all. Is it as simple as, and I don't need to recount what happened in 95, 2003, don't need to recount what happened last year or the year before that, or the year that Matt Castle somehow got that team into the playoffs and the Ravens came in and just whooped them. Everybody I think at this point knows that history. Is it as simple though as the Chiefs have never had a quarterback as good as Patrick Mahomes? Because when you look at those games, I'm not sure Bono in 95 was necessarily a better quarterback than Jim Harbaugh in that game against the Colts. I'm not sure in 98. I'm positive that Elvis Gerbach wasn't as good as John Elway in the divisional playoff in 97, right? I mean, I'm gonna go ahead and throw that out there. I mean, Trent Green, I love him, but Trent Green.
I'm sorry. That was here's the fact that you let like a sliver of just.
Look, Elvis Gerbach's mom may listen to this podcast. We're probably going to get a lot of people in Detroit listening. I don't want to piss off all the Michigan fans. We want them to come back.
Michigan fans know what the deal is with Elvis Gerbach. And let me tell you, you can say whatever you want about Jim Harbaugh too. He ain't all that popular up there either. Okay, yeah. Given what just happened in Columbus on November 24th. But go ahead.
But so the 2003 game, Trent Green, very good quarterback, not as good as Peyton Manning. Matt Castle, I think we can just write that one off in 2010. Therese, who won that argument, by the way?
Shut up.
I mean, last year, I would make the argument, because 2016, Alex Smith, Ben Roethlisberger, again, I'm not sure that you would say the Chiefs had the better quarterback. Last year, I would say the Chiefs probably were better than that's the one year they had the better quarterback, and then you had the penalty, the fumble that wasn't called or incorrectly called. You have a touchdown pass to yourself. You have, Travis Kelce going out with a concussion in that game. A lot of just weird things happen in that one. But most games, the Chiefs have been facing a quarterback deficit. So, Nick, let me ask you, this game, I don't think that's the case. I think Patrick Mahomes, he's certainly, Andrew Luck's had a great season, but I think you could make the case that this is the first time in this run the Chiefs have had the better quarterback definitively.
Yeah, I think Mahomes is the better quarterback. That's weird to say for a guy that's in his second year and has started less than pretty much 20 games in his career. That's pretty insane to say, but Mahomes has shown it out there on the field week in and week out, and Luck he isn't the same quarterback he was early on in his career after that shoulder injury. He throws it differently now. He gets fatigued a lot more, I've noticed, than he used to, and his run was never smooth, but now it's super awkward, and he doesn't have the wheels on the bus don't go as round as they used to anymore. Yeah. So Mahomes is a better quarterback, and we'll see what weather does on that one.
And I'm going to piggyback on Nick. Nick's absolutely right. One other thing that's amazing is that he's thrown more interceptions than Pat has this year. For all the talk about Pat's reckless throw, Andrew Luck throws more interceptions. He's more risk-taking than Patrick Mahomes is. That said, a big reason for Andrew Luck's production this year is absolutely Frank Reich. Yeah. Frank Reich's scheme, man,
it got Nick Foles at Super Bowl.
I wish he was the Lions coach, man. Frank Reich's offensive scheme, dude. Nick, how often do we talk about the importance of setting the tone up front with physical play, right? I feel like that's something that we've talked about. I've known you for we've been good friends for 5-6 years, right? We talk about every time we get on the phone, we talk about that. Frank Reich understood that, and so did Chris Ballard, and they immediately went in 2 years to building one of the best offensive lines in football. Now, you can attack it, and we'll get to that later. But as far as playing with the mentality that we talk about, they do it. And it's because of that and the well-designed scheme, like quick game stuff that Frank's done, that has helped Andrew Luck look a little, probably maybe a little better than he is at this point in his career.
Right.
But so let's give Frank Reich some respect. This isn't a typical rookie head coach.
Let's hear real quick from Eric Bieniemy and Jeff Schwartz and what they expect, from Patrick Mahomes and whether he can handle the pressure of having really the weight of and the dreams and the hopes of an entire Chiefs kingdom on his shoulders for this game.
Well, I'll say this about Pat. Pat has done a tremendous job all year of handling all the different scenarios that we've had to deal with. The kid is a phenomenal professional football player. Obviously, he's a tremendous talent, but he doesn't take anything for granted. Now, we don't want to change. We don't want him changing his personality. We don't want him changing the way he prepares. We do know this. When it's playoff time, everything picks up a little bit faster. You got to have a sense of urgency, and that sense of purpose needs to pick up. And that's just not for him, but that's for everyone. All right? Now, on the flip side of that, there's a defense that we're playing against. And I've said this all year long. Each and every week presents a different issue. This defense, they're playing great team football together.
It doesn't seem like any moment's been too big for him, so I don't know why that would change now. Pretty much everything that's thrown at him throughout the year, he's handled really well, and I think he gets more excited for these games than anything. I've never seen him be nervous or be anxious or any of that. I think he's always just ready and excited to show himself and really lead this team.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, when you hear Mitchell Schwartz talking on the heels of Eric Bieniemy there about how I don't think nervousness is an issue for Patrick Mahomes. That's not at all what I worry about. But Nick, we've talked about this several times. It seems like in the big games, whether it was the Monday night game against Denver, whether it was at New England, whether it was against the Rams on Monday night, whether it was at Seattle,
or Baltimore.
Yeah, I mean, there's. You go down the list. The biggest games the Chiefs have played, it's taken him a quarter, sometimes a half, in the case of like New England, to get settled in. And I don't think it's nerves. I think he's a little too amped up. I mean, it's almost he's putting too much on the ball. He's trying to take too many risks. He's not just taking what the defense gives him. He's trying to deliver the knockout blow in the first 5 minutes of the game. Do you think he's learned from that, and can he control that, or are you expecting something similar on Saturday? And by the way, if you could briefly mention, where can people watch that game?
You can watch on 41 Action News. It's
okay.
Same place that produces this podcast. So, congrats on that. That
was pretty seamless.
I nailed it. No, with Mahomes, I personally, I'm fully expecting to see him amped up to start out that game. I think he really wants to. He wants to hit a knockout blow and throw it deep to Tyreek or to Kelsey and just get Arrowhead just cranked up at that point and send that first strike that it's going to be a long day for him. And I think and you want that mentality from your quarterback throughout a game, but I personally I think it's kind of like you take a little page from the Royals, where they had their theme, keep the line moving. And in this chase, you want to keep the chains moving to where you want to get the first down, and then, get the touchdown, get your whole team in a rhythm, get them all involved, get them confident. And then, those will come later, especially against like cover 2 system and the way that you can manipulate it. Now, I personally, I would like to see some 8 to 10 play drives only because I don't want to see the defense on the field a lot.
Yeah.
And if you can keep them off the field some, then I'm all about that life.
So, Therese, what are your expectations for Patrick Mahomes on Saturday?
I mean, I think he's going to play really well. Like, there's a lot of talk about, the Colts defense, but, this ain't the 85 Bears out here, okay? Like, there's stuff that can be done against these guys. It's a group that is zone heavy, right? We know Mahomes destroyed zone. It's a group that runs a lot of Tampa too, which is vulnerable to 4 verts. I mean, look, you want to run Tampa 2, okay, we're throwing 4 receivers down the field, and you're not going to be able to cover them. Like, that's vulnerable to that. And it's vulnerable to quarterbacks who are creative and can really throw the ball 70 yards in the air, which Patrick can. The wintry mix concerns you a little bit, but only if it's like snowing heavily. I think if it's just like a little bit of snow, the field will be covered. It's a heated field, right? So like that's not going to change the track that much. Like the Chiefs are going to be able to get that deep ball going unless there's like heavy winds or something. So to me, I expect Patrick to have a big day. Like, I don't really see this Colts pass rush, which really isn't that great, being able to get home on this guy. Matt Eberflus is a very good defensive coordinator. Like, they disguise stuff. Those guys are well coached and they play really hard. It's a really good group. Like they play with the mentality of their coach and their general manager. But to me, Patrick's going to put up points. I think the Colts are going to move the football too. And to me, I think it's going to come down to who wins the turnover battle. I think that's going to be really important.
Yeah. And how big a factor do you think Travis Kelce's going to be, Nick? Because obviously the Colts have struggled a little bit against tight ends, and the Chiefs have arguably the best one in the game right now.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, the Colts, they're dead last in most categories against tight ends because out of their bunch and trip formations, the teams run against them. They lose the tight end, and I think that's the way the Chiefs are going to have to manipulate it and go about it. And I am curious to see how the Colts defend Hill and Kelsey and how different is it than their normal cover 2 system. I'm very curious to see if the Colts defense continues to play their game and their scheme, or do they try to change it up and play somewhat different.
And there's a risk there, right? Because what you've been doing all year, you're going to be vulnerable to what the Chiefs' strength is. But if you try to change things for a playoff game,
there's a way to switch it though.
Yeah,
Nick's right, but I think any defensive coordinator worth a start, you start out doing what got you there, right? But watch, if they start getting pierced by that quickly, they can start using some of the cover 2 stuff with like matchup principles, pattern matching, that type of stuff to give you some zone looks. Because let's face it, there's nobody in the NFL that can run with Tyreek Hill in zone coverage.
Yeah.
Like you need man coverage versus Tyreek Hill, not zone coverage. So if they give him that, I mean, as long as he's healthy and he's running, he's going to beat it. I mean, look, we might see a 65-plus yard throw in the air early in the game to Ty Hill just to show, hey, look, we can do it. But they will have some ways to adjust. They don't have to completely go to a man scheme. You can do some of the zone stuff with pattern matching. You can do some of the stuff with matchup principles, particularly against Tyreek Hill in the slot, right? Because, hey, listen, defending a slot receiver who's like really good at running routes, like who has the athleticism Ty has on a two-way go is terrifying. Two-way go means you got basically the route tree to both sides of the field. You have that only in the slot. Ty can do it. Kelsey can do it. I'd be surprised if the Colts just let those two run wild against zone coverage. You got to do some matchup principles.
Yeah. And so do you think does that open some things up? Damian Williams is a guy who's a good pass-catching back. I mean, is he the guy that maybe they look to, that he can get lost in the shuffle a little bit if Hill and if Kelsey, if they find a way to try to take those guys away? Who's the guy that can do some damage still?
You're hoping healthy Sammy Watkins is the first guy that does a lot of damage to him. But depending on how many snaps he can play or what he can do, then like you said, Damian Williams out of the backfield is your next option. Or a running back out of the backfield helping catch passes. Yeah. Because of the way the Colts like to drop to the sticks and like to come downhill and make the tackle in that regard. That's another way you can do it. I mean, and Demetrius Harris and Demarcus Robinson, everybody's going to have to step up this game because it can't just be the Hill and Kelsey show the entire game. And if it is, you lose.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, guys, let's take a quick break, and then we'll come back and we still got to talk about that Chiefs defense. I'm sorry, guys. Here on 4th and 1.
I'm excited.
Welcome back to 4th and 1. We hope you guys enjoyed that chatter about Patrick Mahomes and the offense, because now we're going to talk about the butterscotch that Nick is munching on over there to deal with his cough and the defense.
Butterscotch Bob.
So
sounds like should cut that out, but yeah. Do y'all call him that on the show?
We
Have you done that on the show before? Okay, all right.
We might have invented it.
Okay. But you called him that on the show.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Well, it kind of took on a life of its own after.
Yeah, after Todd did it a couple times, people on Twitter started using it. Guy changed his Twitter handle to it. So
yeah, it kind of took on a life of its own, and it stuck. Look, and so maybe in the C or D block we can talk about. You talked about the Detroit Lions and who offensive coordinator candidates. Maybe we can have an interesting list later. But all right. In the meantime, let's talk about the Indianapolis Colts offense, and when you look at this team, they run the ball as well as I think any team the Chiefs have faced this year. That offensive line is pretty potent. They're pretty stout. Nick, how do you go? How do you stop that? Because that's obviously the Chiefs have not shown the ability to stop anybody with a power run game all year. So I mean, other than getting a big lead and trying to force them into passing situations, what options do they have?
Well, you just took the option. No, I'm just kidding. Way to go, Todd. You just ruined the whole segment because of that. No,
All right, we'll be back.
The only two ways that I think the Chiefs are going to be able to slow it down at times, and they're not going to be successful at this all the time, is one, they're going to have to change and just wreak havoc on some of their zone principles and blocking assignments to where they switch gaps to where it looks like this guy's a shade outside and then he slants underneath the guard and invades the left tackle spot, and then the linebacker has to jump into the defensive tackle's gap. I mean, that's a big risk because you're going to open up some things, but I mean, that's literally one of two options that they have other than them being aggressive and shooting the gaps and everybody attacking upfield. I mean, I'm not saying that those are going to be great and work, but that's pretty much all. That's all that they have to work with.
And we saw Marlon Mack hitting the cutback, and when they would do some combo blocking or zone blocking, and just gashing a Houston Texans defense that is much better than this Chiefs defense. So, I mean, Terez, is this another no punt game possibly?
I mean, it's going to be hard for them to stop the run. I'm sorry. Like, it just is, unless they start doing some things differently than they have all year long. Players have to play better, number one, but my biggest concern is that Anthony Hitchens looks different on tape than he did with the Cowboys last year.
And he played better last week.
The Raiders game is the first time he played like he did with the Cowboys since like week 2 or 3.
But like, okay, well, like he's got to do that again. But like, if you look at the entire body of work for him, there's been just too much like reading and reacting for my preference on this defense. You mentioned, Nick, shooting gaps, run blitzes. Like, let's just go. Like, just.
I mean, you can't stop anything anyways. Might as well have some fun with it.
At least let these guys be aggressive. Now, that's going to open you up to cutback stuff.
I'm fine. They're still going to get gassed even if they are blocked.
But I'd rather see the guys going downhill trying to make plays as opposed to just kind of like sitting back and taking it off the varied run game that the Colts have. Because this is not just a zone team. This is not just a gap team. They do everything. Okay, they do everything. Linemen pull around the edge. They do pin and pull stuff. They do duo. They do like a lot of different like run concepts because they're big and they're young and they're agile and they climb to the second level.
And they're strong.
This is a really good offense. And they got some local guys too now. Evan Bain.
Braden Smith is one of the strongest kids I've ever met.
Big Quentin Nelson, Steve Hutchinson. He's basically the evolutionary Steve Hutchinson. Ryan Kelly, the center. This is a really good line, man. So, Nick, I'm with you, man. I think they're going to run the football. I think the Chiefs' best option is to say, Hitch, Rags, we're sorry for trying to make you do these gap exchanges. Just go downhill and attack.
Do what
That's
you
the
do
only
best.
way. Just
go for it.
Go make a play. And then like on the backside, you just make those guys conscious of being gap sound. And also say this, like run blitzes, even when you do run blitz and you attack downhill, that doesn't mean you can't be gap conscious. Like you can still control your gap. Like that's doable. Like the best run defenses in football are able to do it. So let's do it here.
It's funny because you talk about the read and react, and you and I both covered Mizzou teams that had that trouble when they tried to go to that. But also talking to Charvarius Ward after talking to Charvarius Ward after the Seattle game, one of the things he talked about was that the struggle for him to crack the lineup was that when he was in Dallas, quarterbacks were responsible for doing 2, maybe 3 things.
Yeah.
And that was it. Like you perfected those 3 things, and then depending on the call, you did one of those 3 things. He said it's so much different in Sutton's system. So I mean, really, this is. Do we think that the reason that Hitchens has struggled is because Sutton's scheme is just too dense?
I think that the responsibility for players reading and reacting too much falls on the staff because that's on them. Right, that's on Andy too. Like they have to like put these guys in the best position to succeed. And I'll also say, while like the Patriots win on defense by being cerebral and stuff, like the Chargers defense is good, and it's not that complicated. All those cover 1 and cover 3 teams, like it's not simple, but they're not out here reinventing the wheel. They believe in their players to outperform you, and that's worked for the Chargers. Now the Chiefs don't have a talent level of the Chargers on defense overall, but they do have some really good players, especially when it comes to pass rushing. So to me, I just think if you're going to go down, you got to go down that way.
Yeah, no, and that's one of the reasons we always talk about the importance of getting a lead, Nick, is because that's if the Chiefs have any strength, it's the pass rush, right? So do you think that they can get to Andrew Luck? or do you think that they have to have the lead because otherwise the play action is going to be too effective?
Well, I mean, for me personally, the way that you're going to attack Luck, and I'm going to talk about that first, is you can't just rush upfield the entire time. Like you got to change it up. So if Bob wants to copy, if he wants to copy and paste his divisional game. If he wants to, if he wants to copy and paste his 2015 divisional game plan, then he's going to have to. He's setting them up for failure.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be as effective as it was against the Patriots.
You can't be predictable.
Yeah.
And so I mean they're gonna have to do. I know a lot of teams have done threes and wide nines against them and collapsed the pocket upfield and done that aspect of it.
Didn't we see that like against San Francisco? Like D Ford just like wrecked the 49ers doing that.
So I mean that's one way to get Luck antsy and make him throw it in a way that he doesn't want to, and then also. Another way is you can do some loops and twists at the left guard, Nelson.
Yeah, Nelson. Yeah.
He gets off balance. He's like Duvernay. He really doesn't understand how to keep an even level with his teammate, and so he gets himself off balance. And you can attack that. And then also, they really don't like double A gap blitzes, so they like to have their back chip the best defender. So they're probably going to try to pick D Ford and have the back do that. So if he's going to do that, and you bring 6 guys, you bring crossfire A gap or both A gap blitzes, Luck will get rid of it quick. So I mean, there's ways to attack them whenever they are in passing situations, regardless of whether they're play action passing or not. It's just a matter of, are you willing to do it when your season is on the line?
And that's what scares me for the Chiefs, Nick, because like all the ways you said that you can attack them, you're right. But to me, unfortunately for the Chiefs, like, the more resources they devote to rushing the passer, the easier, not the easier, but Luck can beat that because the quick passing game is so well schemed too. Like, we're going to see crossers. Like, you're going to see some of that stuff. Double A gap blitz, they need to try that. They need to try some games. They got to keep this guy off balance, and I think they got to go get him. But unfortunately for Chiefs fans, I think no matter what you kind of do, this group is good enough at picking up stunts as a collective whole. It's going to be hard to get home. So this is why I kind of say, like, unless they're aggressive on defense, the secondary, and they try to make plays on the football, it's going to be hard for them. They got to get turnovers to stop these guys. But the good news is that they only need a few, because if they can get out to and lead, that's going to prevent Indy from hammering the ball down their throat with the run game. That I don't really see them being able to stop unless guys play better or they do something different scheme-wise than they have this year.
All right, well, we talked about what we think the mentality should be. Let's hear from Andy Reid and D Ford about what the Chiefs' playoff mentality is right now.
Yeah, so it looks like you haven't put on tape all year. So it's single elimination, and you know that. I mean, there's no next week. That's not how this thing works. And so you don't hold a whole lot back. You're going to give it your best shot. Does everything work? Well, that's not always the case, but you're going to try to make everything, give it your best shot, make everything the right thing. And so that's how you go about it, whether it's new, old, blend, whatever, whatever it is. Give your guys an opportunity to perform at a high level as a coach. That's what you want to do.
I mean, you just got to be able to make plays and honestly keep the lead. I think we lost the lead. I mean, things happen. Things will happen. Adversity is going to hit, but in a playoff environment, you just got to be willing to make those plays, man. We left some plays out there on the field at key times. It was maybe only 1 or 2 crucial plays that hurt us in the end. So,
all right, so that was Andy Reid and D Ford talking about the playoff mentality. Are you buying, Nick, by the way, like what D Ford was saying there about how they've always had the right mentality? It's just 1 or 2 plays that they didn't go their way?
I mean, in 2013, it was about 12 plays that didn't go their way, and it wasn't necessarily go their way. They just didn't execute them. I mean, when you count it up at the end of the day, each Chiefs playoff game, I feel like there's 10 plays that they leave on the field or that they didn't make, whether it's offense, defense, or whatever. And then also there's like 3 or 4 penalty blunders or lack of focus or drop or something. And that's why I'm hesitant, and I know a lot of other people are hesitant to fully buy in right now.
Well, but I feel like that case could be made in any game that a team loses. Sure. That there were 10 plays or a couple penalties here, a couple penalties there. The one thing, obviously, the Chiefs have home field advantage going for them, right? Therese, how much does that matter on Saturday. Especially because the defense does seem to play a little bit better at home.
Yeah, no, it helps.
I mean, how much does that matter?
It helps a little bit. I mean, you rather had us be at Arrowhead than Indy, where you had the bad juju with the 7 concussion game in the 2013 season. They've changed the track there, fittingly. But yeah, look, it matters. It helps. It definitely helps being at home. And the cool thing about it is that the Chiefs' history against the Colts is so bad. Like, by winning, they can really kind of exercise some demons and like really get a new, fresh lease on life with their fans and really kind of absolve themselves for some of this bad stuff. So we never really have to talk about it again. So playoffs being at home does matter. It should have mattered last year. You had some calls go against you against the Titans. I have a hard time believing like that kind of stuff would happen again. Again. Like every time you get a home playoff game here, it just can't keep going badly. You have a great quarterback, a rising star, and the league promotes stars. I don't think you got to worry about stuff going against you. I think this stuff helps, man. I think that this is having a quarterback that's amazing can just cover up so much, man. I do. I just think that Patrick's presence, as long as he's on the field, will give you kind of a new lease on life.
Unfortunately, I don't think he's got the range to play safety. But let's hear from Andrew Luck and Frank Reich and what they think about the Arrowhead advantage and coming into town to play this one.
Certainly there are a few more lights on the sidelines and a few more people out there, and it was a loud and raucous atmosphere, and we're expecting probably one of the louder atmospheres in football, again at Arrowhead, in an awesome atmosphere. But once the game gets going, it's all the same. It's the same size field, same amount of players. You got to do the same things well. You got to play with technique, you got to play with fundamentals, you got to play with discipline.
This is certainly the best offense, obviously, statistically in the NFL this year. Certainly biggest challenge that we faced. So, it's really about what we do and believing in our players and staying true to what we do, being disciplined and playing together, and trust Matt will have the best game plan for that.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to think that this is a team. I think the city's ready for this. I think the city, like you alluded to earlier there, Therese. I think the city's ready to exercise some demons. Who do you think should design the statue for Patrick Mahomes after he wins this game on Saturday, Nick?
Personally, I'll worry about it after they get the win. Until then, it's a non-topic for me.
All right. Well, there you go. Nick, once again, a ray of sunshine in your lives as you get ready for the playoffs.
You're welcome.
I get it, Nick. Can we just get through the game without forward progress or losing on 6 field goals? Or
I consider it a win.
Blowing a 28-point lead.
I consider it a win that Craig's not the referee for this game. So that's the first step towards a belief. But it's one of about a 200 on my checklist.
You're mentally preparing yourself for it. I got it.
All right. Well, hey guys, we'll be back for the final segment here on 4th and 1. Welcome back to 4th and 1. I'm Todd Palmer. We are not going to be joined by Gary Lezak today. Unfortunately, our chief meteorologist is busy looking at weather models and getting stuff ready. But I did get the latest forecast from him. So here's what Gary had to say. Okay, so according to Gary,
as of Thursday when this is being taped.
Sure, but but still, I mean, you're getting the forecast from the best weatherman in Kansas City.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
So here you go. So Gary said that there's going to be 2 to 5 inches that fall Friday into Saturday, but that the accumulation should mostly be done before the game starts. It's possible there'll be a dusting as the game goes on, but he expects most of the snow to be out of there. So he said the best advice he has is to leave early, give yourself plenty of time to get to the game, because getting there is going to be the slower part. It could affect your tailgate a little bit because they'll have some piles of snow from where they're clearing everything. And if you watch 41 Action News on Saturday morning, we're going to have the latest from out there at Arrowhead, I know. So we'll have the latest on the road conditions and all that and keep you informed. So my advice would be just stick with 41 all day on Saturday because we got the game anyway, right?
And Thursday and Friday.
Well, Thursday, Friday,
day.
Whatever,
Every day.
It's all good, baby. It's all good. All right, so there you go. There's the weather. Let's talk real quick. Patrick Mahomes, he's never been in a playoff game, but he saw the playoff game last year. Therese, does that matter? I mean, the fact that he's never played in it, but he's at least experienced the atmosphere. Can he take anything from that?
other than how final it is, like other than just it's a crushing moment. You see the fans are devastated. You see your teammates are devastated.
You see me devastated.
Like, other than that, and how like ruthless the NFL is. Like the next day, Alex is just that day after the game, Alex is rough, and he's traded like 2 weeks later. Like, yeah, I mean, he could take that, but on some real stuff, man, Patrick, he does not. I don't think that the past of this team has anything to do with that. That is a confident kid, man, and that's a good thing. Not even in a bad, like he's just a confident. He believes in his arm. He believes in his talent, and he's gonna be a legend here. He already kind of is, just because he's gonna be the MVP,
and because he's gonna get a Whataburger here.
Yeah. I mean, look, you bring Whataburger here now. Hey,
game over. I don't care if you throw another touchdown.
I mean, you do, all right? Because finding a guy like this, you've been waiting 50 years for this guy.
Nah, man, I'd build a statue for Brody Croyle if Brody Croyle got Whataburger here, man.
Yeah, so no, it doesn't really affect him very much. I think he's going to come out and play well. I really do.
Let's hear real quick from Patrick Mahomes, Dustin Colquitt.
Yeah.
What? And Kendall Fuller about the about playoffs and getting prepared for the moment.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's my first playoff game. I'm excited just to be here, and then at the same time get the opportunity to go out there and win games like this. I mean, when you grow up, you want to go and play games like this. When you get older, you want to be a professional athlete and you want to win on the biggest stage. And so for me, it's about going out there, like I said, be myself, lean on my teammates, and try to go out there and win a big football game.
This is a 6-year kind of build, and I think this is the best we've been. We got great players that are playing at high levels right now, offense, defense, and special teams, and we just got to go out and just be us. And I think that's the biggest thing we can do.
I can easily. It's just definitely one of the biggest stages you're gonna play at. Everything gets magnified more. Every play counts more. But at the same time, just kind of how I've been my whole life. The next game is the biggest game just because it's the next game. So you carry that attitude week in and week out. For us, it's another week. Yeah, it's the playoffs, but it's another week. We're preparing the same way.
All right, so that was Patrick Mahomes, the incomparable Dustin Colquitt, a Hall of Fame punter if I ever saw one. And
Todd's going to be furious if Colquitt's not the MVP.
Yeah. The streak continues, dude.
And Kendall Fuller. He got to. At this point, this is what the people demand. But Nick, I talked to Therese, we talked with him a little bit about his expectations. Do you worry at all about the Rainmakers' ability to, to function, to process, to be ready for this moment? I mean, because I don't feel like we've seen a moment that was too big for him yet. Do you worry that it's coming?
I don't think on his end that I don't see him really ever being part of the problem.
Not even when he looks out and sees 50,000 headbands staring back at him from the stands.
I don't like Therese said earlier. He doesn't seem overwhelmed completely the entire game. He just seems like he's amped up early on for that first quarter, and there's a couple throws he misses that may force a field goal instead of the 7 that they could have gotten and made the difference in the game a couple times. So, with Patrick, I mean, I think he's going to give everything he's got this weekend, and I'm excited that if they do hypothetically win on Saturday, I'm excited just for him to get the experience of being in the AFC Championship. I don't actually care what happens. I just want him to have the experience of what it means to win a playoff game and to also be in an AFC Championship so he knows what it takes to get there for the next decade whenever he has some frequent visits there.
Mm-hmm.
Nick, you're a liar. You do care what happens in the AFC Championship game. I know you just don't want to get ahead of yourself yet.
I mean, you can say what you want. I'm not going to say I wouldn't be excited if they win, but I
believe Nick, though. See, I believe Nick because Nick's reasonable to understand that this is a 10-year play with Patrick Mahomes. This isn't about 2018 as much as it is about 2019 or 2020. Like, that's why, people are like, isn't there pressure on Andy Reid to win this game? Well, I mean, what kind of pressure? Like, not really. Even if they lose, it's not making a dent in his job security. At the end of the day, he's developed the league MVP at 23 years old. So to me, this is about getting him that experience, just like Nick said. This is about getting him that experience. And a win is huge because that's one massive tick that he can knock off. Now he's not a part of the horrible history here. Now you lose an AFC championship game. It's like, oh, okay, he'll be back. You know, there's no negative at all about his history. Now, you lose this game, there'll be some blowhard. I guess I can't say that. You lose this game, there'll be some talking heads out there that don't watch football, that's talk about his primetime record in big games. And they'll be completely neglecting the fact he's 23. It'll be a really bad take, but it's something that'll catch on because it'll anger people and make them click. So I hope that they just avoid it for Patrick's sake, right? But if they don't avoid it, it won't be the end of the world. They're going to rejigger the defense this offseason. I guarantee you that, especially on the talent level. They got 4 top 100 picks. They're going to address that side of the ball. They got money to spend in free agency. They will address it. They will fix it, and they'll come back next year ready to roll again.
I want to believe that, but the other thing I feel like there's an opportunity out there this year, and it's not an opportunity you get every year. And I can't help but think of
unless you have a generational quarter. I mean, Brady's there every year.
But
you know?
I mean,
right?
Stranger things have happened.
Breeze is almost here every year.
Stranger things have happened in Kansas City's history with, I mean, I'm just.
You're going to a really dark place.
I am.
You're going to a dark place here without saying it outright.
No, but what I was going to say is I'm thinking about the Washington Nationals a couple years ago when they shut down Strasburg, and the thinking was, well, hey, we got this young ace and this great young power hitter. We're going to be back in position to go to the World Series and win a championship every year. And then Strasburg got hurt. The whole thing blew up. They never made it to a World Series.
Yeah,
Strasburg's about to leave. But that's what
that was baseball too, right? Like football's got the cost certainty of like, no matter what, like he's gonna make $200 million. He'll be the highest paid player in football as soon as next season's over. That's gonna happen. Like he's like literally gonna be here for a really long time, unless like the worst possible thing happens that we're not gonna talk about. But I can already look on Nick's face. And like you won't even say it because you're so scared of it. But what are the odds of that? Come on.
I mean, but guys go down in training camp,
Todd,
all the time.
Todd,
I'm just saying.
Do you have any? Let's move on.
I'm just saying. I just don't feel like we should just say, I think
I understand what you mean.
I think that this is a year where the Chiefs have an exceptional offense, and I personally am not going to be satisfied if they don't.
Saying that you just throw the game, like you try.
No, but I'm just saying. I mean, five straight years, the number 1 seed in the AFC has made it to the Super Bowl. So if the Chiefs break that streak, I'm not going to be like, that's okay. They made the FC Championship. I'm fine with that.
I hate to make it sound like I'm making excuses for it. Like I'm not. Like the defense stinks. Like they got the second to worst defense in the NFL. Like if they really lose this game to a team that's well coached with a really good quarterback, would it really be that big of a sub? No, this is not a typical 1 versus 6 matchup. Like I want people to fully understand that. Like the Chiefs should win. I'm gonna pick them to win, but that team over there, this is a better team than you probably would think for a 1-6 matchup. It's totally possible they can win this game.
So they've won 10 of their last 11. So and this is a team that's hot too. All right, Nick, real quick. Eric Berry, does he play or not?
I'm since he's missed 2 days of practice, I don't expect him.
Dorian O'Daniel?
I doubt that either.
Which one's a bigger absence on that offense?
On defense?
Or sorry, on the defense. Whatever side they play.
In all honesty, since we haven't seen him a lot this year, I'm gonna say Dorian O'Daniel's the bigger absence. Eric Berry, it's par for. Oh, he's not playing this week? Oh, okay, well, it's like 14 other games.
No, I agree. So, I mean, I think especially in coverage, and I'm looking at Eric Ebron and guys that could possibly match up or at least run with the guy. And I think missing Dorian O'Daniel could be big in that game. So Therese, Sammy Watkins.
I think he practiced it. They're going to need him to kind of stretch that defense the way we've talked about. So I think he's going to give it a go. Now, Watkins, or is he something resembling, or is he just a guy wearing 14? I don't know, but I think he will play.
Does it matter if he's Sammy Watkins or is just the threat of 14 being out there, Nick? Is that going to be enough, do you think?
Just having him out there is it's gonna change some of the coverages. All right, injury report: Dorian O'Daniel is going to be doubtful. Eric Berry, Sammy Watkins, and Spencer Ware all questionable for the game.
Yeah, dude.
So that's your latest breaking injury report right here.
But honestly, that's pretty healthy, man.
So let me talk about that then. So Berry's questionable, right? He said he's a game time decision, right? Okay.
Yeah. Well, he's been day to day for most of the
Seeing questionable is intriguing for me.
Me too. I got caught up in some interview I did in the locker room today. Typically, what's their defense day? Thursday or Wednesday? Nick, do we remember?
I can't remember. It's been a minute for me.
Okay,
out
me
there.
too. Yeah, me too. So, look, the bottom line is that he did practice this week, right? He practiced on Tuesday.
Practice one day. Yep.
He was limited on Tuesday.
All right. So, here's the thing. I know how hard Eric's worked to get back to play this year. I know what he's had to kind of do to make that happen. He's literally the whole reason this has been like this kind of like day-to-day is because instead of just pronouncing him out, like whatever he's got to do to get that fixed and like, isn't coming to the offseason. Like this is the moment he's done this for. Unless like something has happened in the rehab that we don't know about, like it's gotten worse. Can play, he's gonna play. I think. Put it this way. I don't know what's gonna happen with Eric Berry, but stuff I heard throughout. Remember, I said in October I thought he'd come back in December. I was the first one to say that. So my point is, I've been hearing stuff on this for a while. I think that this has been happening for this moment. Like he's been doing all this so he can get ready to play. So to me, I'd be surprised if he can't play. I'd be a little surprised if he's not going to try to gut it out. If he can't gut it out on Saturday, that injury's worse than we thought, or something happened between like last week and now that they obviously wouldn't want anyone to know about because now the Colts have to kind of prepare for Eric Berry.
Does the snow impact? Does the forecast impact that at all?
No, because again the field is heated. Like they installed.
Yeah, but that could make it slick though.
No, they installed a really premium like system to keep the footing solid, and it's a good thing they did that because they've got this great quarterback. Lord knows you wouldn't want to. Gosh, man. Oh,
moving on.
Like Nick just doesn't even want to process this possibility. I don't blame you, Nick. I don't want to either.
Well, hey guys, we thank you for joining us as always.
You got predictions.
Oh, you know what? I almost forgot.
Yeah,
I almost forgot. Well, Nick, you literally every week I have done predictions, and literally every week Nick scowls at me and doesn't want to give a prediction. This week he's amped up though, so let's get to it, man.
Okay, yeah, I got to go first.
Yeah, no, you. All right, you brought it up.
All right, fine. Unfortunately, I fully expect the Chiefs to, until they prove otherwise, I fully expect them to lose this game.
Wow.
And I expect myself to be eating something at Wendy's over the next week to drown my sorrows on that. So I'm going to eat my feelings, per se.
All right, well,
score-wise, since I know you love scores, too, involved in it, I'm going to end up expecting it to be something like 30, 34, 31.
Wow.
And
Nick and I are...
And I'm not going to say why they only got 31.
Wow.
I hope it's not because Mahomes got hurt.
No. Stop. It's not because of that. I'm just not going to say the specific reason because there's been a trend on special teams I have noticed the past month, and I'm fully expecting it to, unfortunately, be one of the things that cost them come that day.
Wow.
All right. Well, hey, what's your prediction here, Therese? Because
I'm going to pick the Chiefs because this has to end. Like this just can't keep going.
I hope it does. I don't want to make these predictions.
The Red Sox ended the most psychologically damning curse in 100 years in 2004. The Cubs ended their curse. Like if those two teams can end their curse, this 50-year curse in Kansas City can be over. You've even won a Super Bowl. So like, look, you got the league MVP. You got Pat. I'm picking the Chiefs to win this game, 34-8. Okay, and I think this thing is gonna be over. I think if he wins this game, everything else from here is gravy. And you get ready to fortify a defense around this guy to make a real run the next several years.
You know what? I'm with you. I'm gonna go ahead and say 38-28. I think the Chiefs are. I just think that the offense is going to come out. They're going to click on all cylinders. I think they're going to feed off that crowd. And I've said all along, if the defense can hold the team under 28 or so, they're going to be in the game. And look, I mean, the Colts, they scored 21 at Houston. They all came in the first half. This isn't an offense. I mean, this is a team that got shut out by Jacksonville. So this is an offense that you can.
But I will
ask, shut down.
How did they get blanked by Jacksonville though in that game?
Well, but my wider point is that. Well, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say because the Jaguars had the front four that could shut down their run game. That was the difference in that game.
Yeah, but my point is that this isn't an offense that it's not the Rams, it's not the Chiefs, it's not an elite offense that's going to put up a guarantee. I mean, the Chiefs have scored at least 26 every game, so you can pretty much bank on 4 touchdowns as long as the defense can either force a few field goals or keep them from scoring 4 touchdowns. You're probably going to win this football game. I think the Chiefs find a way to do it. I'm saying 38-28.
I hope you're right.
And
I hope both of you are right, and I hope I'm terribly wrong, and I will not care.
He won't, and he'll contribute $100 to the Patrick Mahomes GoFundMe for a statue outside the stadium, which is better than tears, right?
I never put that on record, so and there's no signature on that.
All right. Well, all right. I'll start the GoFundMe for you, okay? All right. We'll tell you what the address for that is on Saturday's podcast here on 4th and 1.